Good evening. This is Janet Head at the ATSU campus, and we're pleased this evening to present the first of our three conferences or evening seminars on a variety of issues related to admission to professional school and to academic success. So this evening we have Sarah Thomas. She's master's in social work with a licensed clinical social work credentials, and so I'm going to turn it over to her, and we hope that you will enjoy this evening's presentation and join us for the next two presentations. More information on that later. Thanks.
Thank you. The title of this talk is Managing Academic Stress. So like she said, my name's Sarah. I spend my days here at ATSU as a counselor for our medical, dental, biomedical students, and that involves seeing them face-to-face with their struggles or their successes and helping them set up them to be as successful as they can. We also do wellness activities and other events to kind of understand our students and how they're doing. So my plan for the evening, so my overview, real quick, we're going to kind of hit on these topics this evening and spend some time in each of these areas. So as we go along, we'll get to all these things. All right, so I start with the definition. When we think about academic stress, it is mental distress with respect to some anticipated frustration associated with academic failure. Students have to face many academic demands, for example, school exams, answering questions in class, showing progress in school subjects. And this was taken from American International Journal of Research in Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. So we can look at this definition a lot of different ways. So most people experience academic stress at some point in their career, and some do experience that on the lighter end of the spectrum and some on the more severe end of the spectrum. And so I think that we'll cover both those in between those spectrums tonight as we talk. So I'm going to start with some ways to kind of set yourself up for success and manage that stress. And we're going to talk about what it means to be ready to learn. So given what it takes to be successful in higher education and later in life and work, students have to be ready to learn. So that means like a state of physical, psychological, emotional, intellectual, social, and spiritual well-being. So as you can see, that doesn't just mean intellectual well-being, that incorporates the mind, brain, and body. So they say it must be in shape and be open for learning experiences. And we also talk about how prepared students are for learning determines how much and how well they can learn. That can influence their persistence, retention, graduation, and just general overall well-being and enjoying higher education, as we all should. So one of the first tips that we'll talk about is incorporating anticipation in your life. So while school can be stressful and we can think about exams and papers, we also want you to always have something to look forward to. So that looking forward to may be clinical experiences, it may be research, or it may just be simple things like a date to watch a movie, have coffee with a friend, or go on a walk somewhere new. So studies in the book, The Happiness Advantage, show that simply setting a date for an enjoyable event can raise endorphin levels in your brain by 27%. So the best part is this enjoyable event doesn't have to be big, like I mentioned. So it also showed that your happiness will increase every time you're reminded of the event. So if you're struggling through the week with a paper or a test, just reminding yourself, oh, you know, tonight I'm going to have a great dinner with a friend, or I'm going to go on a walk or a run, or I'm going to call my mom even. Those are things that can help bring you to more of a positive train of thought and a mindful experience. So that is number one. So we'll talk about exercise a few times through here, but it's important to identify a couple studies. So a Harvard study showed that regular exercise routine has been shown to decrease symptoms of mild to moderate depression. So And we say, if you have trouble finding that motivation to go on your own, it's always helpful to find a buddy or a class. A lot of our universities, a lot of even community colleges have fitness centers with classes and organized sports. So those are great because the Journal of American Osteopathic Association found that medical students who exercise in a group reported a 26% reduction in stress. So pretty helpful. We'll revisit exercise here in a little while. So surround yourself with supportive people. The only way to stay positive is to embrace relationships that inspire and motivate you to be a better person while helping others to be better too. So one thing that's very important is to develop a good mentor relationship. So that could be an advisor or a faculty member. It could be a practitioner in the community. It could be a provider that you are family friends with, somebody that has been through higher education and can be of great support to you. It's also important to recognize while your best of friends can be great to talk to, sometimes they're not always. If they're also stressed, that can affect your well-being. So recognize when it's best to maybe seek support from somebody else, and when you need to step away from a conversation. So like our students here on campus will tell us that sometimes it's really hard to be around others close to a test because they'll just feed off each other's stress, or they'll think of a topic and then they'll be like, oh, I don't know that material, and that makes it harder to focus and be prepared. Or a lot of students say that after exams they walk out and they just have to leave because some students do well with kind of processing exam questions and how they did, while other students are like, oh, that's too much, that's really hard. And so recognize when even your best of friends, maybe it's okay to step away from that conversation and find other support. And of course, don't compare ourselves to others. So it's easy to fall into this trap of measuring your success with the success of others. So like we talked about in the previous slide, that when you're hearing other people's successes, sometimes that can make you feel like, oh, I'm not doing that well, or I don't know that material. And those people may be speaking more about their success than their struggles. So that may lead you to feel like everyone's doing so much better than you, when in reality, they're probably talking more about the things that are going well for themselves. And we have to recognize that social media can also make this pretty difficult. So you typically see the best parts of people's lives online, or they might report, the best day that they had on campus, and that day you might be feeling kind of like really overwhelmed. But the day before may have been their overwhelmed day. So recognize that social media may not be the best way to de-stress at times either. So a big thing that we learn in this stage of our life in general is learning to be assertive, and why it's so important for you to set strong boundaries and communicate those boundaries to others. This is, sometimes difficult for some people and sometimes really easy for others. So those organizations that are so great to help you build a resume and help you find social relationships and to help you find joy and satisfaction can become stressful if you don't feel that you are able to be assertive and identify when you cannot carry out a task or you are taking on too much. So if you don't set up your own boundaries, other people will. They'll keep adding on. They'll see that you are willing to take on many things, and they might add more to your plate than you're able to feel like you can handle. So along with that, don't allow others to intimidate you or coerce you into doing things you don't feel that you have time for. So learn to say no when you're feeling like that is too much. And that, trust me, is a skill that you're gonna have your entire life, and that you'll continue to need to revisit later in your career. That learning to be assertive and say when you are busy, when you just have too much. And sometimes you might just have to say that to yourself, because you might be the type of person just to take on more and more tasks because you're excited about them, and then realize that you need to take a step back. So. And one great big struggle that I see with some students, when you spend so much time in study, a lot of that is alone time. Only you can put that information in your head for the most part. Writing papers or doing research can feel the same way. That's a lot of alone time. So you couple that alone time with stress, and that can make you feel like you don't have time to do anything else. And then when you're alone, it's easy to feel helpless and like that there's just too much. And then at the same time, that feeling helpless makes you want to be alone more, or makes you feel like you need to study more. So it can be a vicious cycle that can lead to more stress, and that stress that continues can lead to depression. So no matter how much you feel like isolating yourself, don't. It can be the worst thing you can do. So instead of closing off your lines of communication, open them up. Talk to someone about what you're going through. So write about it, share it. You'll be surprised how many other people are going through the same thing. So when you're feeling like you just have too much going on and feeling alone, think of somebody. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's somebody in your class. Kind of reach out and talk about what's hard or what all this time alone is making you feel like. And if you feel like you're having trouble making friends or being socially connected, kind of maybe go back to that mentor relationship or somebody else in your school that can help lead you in the right direction. So kind of related to the slide about being assertive, reconsider your commitments. Many students find that they've taken on more than they can reasonably manage. So while it's important to stay involved in that community, it's equally critical to allow adequate time for studying reflection. So we see this a lot. So kind of the opposite of that last slide of being isolated, we have students that really isolate and spend a lot of time studying. Then we have students that kind of struggle with their grades because they overcommit to all they're the social butterflies. And so there's huge positives to that. But at the end of the day, sometimes it can feel like I don't have enough adequate time for studying, or even adequate enough downtime to really take care of themselves and not be so busy. So when you have recognized that maybe I've taken bite off more than I can chew, I've been in too many organizations, back to the last slide, recognize when it's okay to say no, when it's okay to respectfully say, I think I've taken on too much, I'll have to step away from this, and that's okay. So something we'll spend some time talking about now, make sure you're balanced. So be sure you're taking time to get enough sleep. So sleep is super important. College students don't get enough of it. I talk with about every single student that I see about sleep and all the other ways to stay balanced. But when we're talking about sleep, everybody needs at least 6 hours. Most people need 8 hours of sleep, and that involves making sleep a priority. So even when you are caught up in some great television and don't want to go to bed, make yourself a routine. A sleep routine is great. If you don't have enough sleep, you're more likely to get more overwhelmed and stressed, and kind of those cycles that we talked about a few slides ago as well. And you're more likely to not eat as healthy and not feel like you have the energy to exercise, which would be the other things that you need to do to stay balanced. So like eating well is pretty important, making your body feel as best as it can. And we all have days that we eat things that aren't the greatest for us, but try to have balanced meals throughout the day so you're not crashing. Try to mostly eat pretty healthy foods and least amount of sugars we can get, all those things that just make us feel well. And then exercise. Told you we would revisit this like we talked about earlier. Exercise is pretty important for those studies, but also can just make you feel good. And when you physically feel good, you feel more able to study and engage in your education. So also work to maintain friendships. So friendships are important relationships. If you struggle with that, reach out. Look at all the different organizations that might be something new, and you might be surprised how you can engage and find other relationships. And so engage in other activities that recharge your batteries. And we'll kind of visit this again here in a minute, but finding joy, like finding those activities that you look forward to, like we talked about the first slide, things that you really like to do. So I'll also say seek academic support when you need it. Our academic institutions have a lot of support and it is available to you, so take advantage of that. Look around your campus and look at resources that could include tutoring, peer study groups. There's also study groups a lot of time involved in different organizations. They can really help you optimize your academic skills and your course knowledge. A lot of these learning resources type centers can help you identify the best study skills, can help you look at where your grades are and where you're struggling, and maybe help you find help for your writing or help for a specific new way of studying. So I would say take advantage of those resources, ask others what they have done, and just really do not be embarrassed or ashamed to ask for help. And it might even be a subject you thought you would be really good at and would come easy to you, and it's okay if it's not. And look for that help when you need it. So a big thing that we talk about when we're helping students be the most successful is about managing that time. So as we go through our childhood and adolescence, a lot of our time is kind of managed for us. We are used to going to school from 8 to 3 and then plus our other activities after school, and our parents tell us other things we need to do, but as we get older, we have to kind of do that for ourselves. I remember when I went to college and I was like, you mean I only have 2 classes today? That's great. And I wasn't the best at managing my schedule at first. I had all this free time and always time to study later. So it's a good thing. I tell students to make a plan. Look at your week every week. I mean, obviously plan out your semester with your courses, but every Sunday maybe look at your week and make a plan of not only when you're going to attend classes, but when you're going to study, when you're going to prepare, and also when you're going to exercise and when you're going to connect with friends or when you're going to have a dinner, and even things like getting your groceries. Sometimes you need to schedule that in or it might not get done and then you're not eating so well. So make plans. Make good use of your study time and try to limit that distraction. So as you're managing that time and making the time to get to the library or get somewhere, make good use of that time so that you're not very distracted. And everybody has different things that distract them. Some do well in busy situations and some need to kind of have a very isolated environment. So look around your living community or your university or college for the best places that maybe will help you be successful for studying. So staying focused, kind of, what we've been talking about. Identify skills to help you improve that focus. So while that may have never been a struggle for you in the past, I see many students that did really well all the way up until medical school that feel like they're struggling with focus. And so taking a step back and thinking about what might be all the other things that might be hurting my focus. Could it be I'm not sleeping well or not eating well, or I'm worried about a relationship or completing things? Am I not organized with my plan? Am I not managing my time well? So ways to help stay focused, and also talk in a little bit about some mindful skills that could also be good skills to help us improve our focus. And we can't talk about good time management without being organized. So like along with that, making a plan. If you're sitting down to study and you don't have the materials that you need, that's going to cost you time and cost you more distractions. So be as organized as you can. Make sure you're throwing things away or deleting documents that you don't need anymore and getting rid of that clutter so that you can feel like these things are manageable. Schedule breaks and rewards. So most people can't study for 8 to 10 hours a day and really be all that successful in staying focused. So we're talking about quality over quantity here. So quality time spent study is great if you know that you're going to have a break and then you can go take a walk and you can look around and you feel rewarded for that time and you can be more focused when you get back to studying. So many of the dental and DO students that I work with talk about the big task of their first semester is learning how to study. And some of them talked about how in undergrad they had to relearn how to study. And so you may have to relearn how to study. So as your academic career advances, your study skills may need to change. So it's hard to think about skills that really worked for you before, whether it was writing out notes or note cards or making slides that worked for you before may need to change with each course, or just different material that's coming at you. So doing homework does not always equal good study or learning of skills like it may have worked for most of us in middle school or high school. So that kind of changes. Also attend those review sessions, schedule time to talk with teaching assistants or professors, and attend those study groups. So the stuff that's set up for us that we feel like maybe that won't be so helpful, try it out. It might be more helpful than you think, because just as your classes and things are different, you might find more ways that are more beneficial than you've used in the past. And so also I mentioned this before, recognize that you may need to alter your place of study to improve focus. So many of us, myself included, I could never study at home. Like I always was thinking about that batch of cookies I could put in the oven, or that load of laundry that I could switch, or all the things that I could do instead. So I had to go to common places of the library to study. And so too much quiet is not always good for me. Like I need to see other people working. And the same thing is true today. If I'm working on something intensive, I need to have my door open and see other people working around me. Otherwise my mind kind of wanders too and get distracted with different things. So we all are different. Some people need intense quiet. I have a lot of students that study in their office at home, and that's where they're most successful, and others that like to go to the library or study rooms or even cafes and coffee shops. They feel like they're most successful there. So there is a lot being said to setting yourself this time and organize, like I'm going to study at the library at this time. So you go there with your plan and your intention, and so you're more likely to sit and focus if you know that's what you're there for. So like I mentioned, it's so important to find joy. So take time to relax. Just always remember that school, your future career, is still always going to be just part of your life. That this joy and those things that you enjoy are a big piece of that pie as well. So spend some time each day on activities that can help reduce your stress. Use mindfulness techniques to truly enjoy those moments. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. So try a few minutes of guided relaxation if you struggle with being in the moment. So you can find many ways. There are a lot of ways to find guided relaxation or improve your mindfulness skills. We'll talk more about that, but that can help you really find more joy in these moments. So stay connected or reconnect with passions that you enjoy. So it could be drawing or reading or running or crocheting, music, time with animals, talking to your family. Could be anything that you know is something that you have to look forward to and that really brings you joy. And make this a priority. Put that in your schedule every week, that you still have this connection to something that's so important to you. And so a big topic, of course, that I spend a lot of time with, but we try to express to everybody, is to reduce that stigma and get mental health care when you need it. So you do not have to be in a crisis to seek help. Seeking help sooner can help build skills to prevent more symptoms from developing. So there's many ways a mental health professional can help you. So usually the mental health professionals that we're talking about could be clinical social workers or counselors or psychologists. They help you come up with plans for solving problems. They can help you feel stronger in the face of challenges. Change some behaviors that might be holding you back. Look at ways of thinking that affect how you feel. It could heal pains from your past. There could be things that you've struggled with for a long time. And now is as good a time as ever to work towards making progress in that area. And that might seem really hard with being in school and working on this, but a good therapist will help you identify a plan for doing both at the same time. Figuring out your goals and building self-confidence. So again, you don't have to be in crisis when you start seeing symptoms that might be of concern to you or others, which we'll talk about. Get that mental health care. So most people who seek help do feel better. So for example, more than 80% of people treated for depression improve. Treatment for panic disorders, which including anxiety, has up to a 90% success rate. So many of the students that I work with day to day here struggle with stress and anxiety. Like that's the biggest one. And second to that is depression. So just know that that is, you know, even though you're going to a profession to help lots of people, it's so important to take care of yourself. So we talk about mental health well-being here. So when we talk about mental health, it's good to identify kind of these definitions because that helps us see that what we're talking about. So mental health is divided as a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or her own potentials, can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, is able to make a contribution to his community. So these positive dimensions of mental health are stressed in the World Health Organization's definition of health is contained in its constitution. So health is a state of complete physical, mental, social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmary. So you can seem really healthy physically. You don't have to be diagnosed with cancer to be unhealthy. You can be unhealthy if you're struggling with your mental health. And you're not realizing your potential and not able to do the things that you want to do positively in your life. So we encourage this so people can see that, hey, I'm not working as productively as I want to. Maybe I'm struggling with a lot of stress or worry. Maybe I'm not focusing, and I've really tried all these different things. That's where help can be very beneficial to you. So some of those warning signs, there's a lot here. Some bigger symptoms than others, but we'll go through some of these. So eating or sleeping too much or too little, pulling away from people and usual activities. So feeling you're having low or no energy, and that's happening pretty often, not just every once in a while, but pretty often. Feeling numb or like nothing matters, having unexplained aches and pains, feeling helpless or hopeless, smoking, drinking, using drugs more than usual, and binge drinking is something we see a lot in young adults. It's been explained to me that a lot of this is associated with ongoing stress and then just feeling like we don't have time to manage that stress. And so we go out on Friday night and just, the drinking is a way to just kind of relax. So binge drinking can be a problem when that's a behavior. We want to find better ways to relax and better ways to cope. So feeling unusually confused, forgetful, on edge, angry, upset, worried, or scared, yelling or fighting with family and friends, experiencing severe mood swings that can cause problems in relationships, having persistent thoughts and memories you can't get out of your head, hearing voices or believing things that are not true, thinking of harming yourself or others, inability to perform daily tasks like taking care of your kids or getting to work or school. So all these, that's a lot of warning signs. All the things that could come up, and I just want you to know that all these are things that would warrant you seeking help. So something we say a lot to our students is you are your first patient. So now is the best time to start taking the best care of yourself. It's very important that we take time to care for ourselves. So many people have heard this oxygen mask metaphor. So if you float on an airplane, they often tell you, always put on your own oxygen mask first before you put it on a child or an elderly passenger. And most people are like, why would I do that? Wouldn't I save my child first? Well, if you don't put on your own mask and you're putting on the child's first and you pass out, you're no help to anybody. So that's life. Put on your own oxygen mask first. Take time for yourself, or you're not going to be the best that you can be to help others. So that positive mental health allows people to realize your full potential, cope with those stresses, work productively, and make meaningful contributions in your community, which are all things that most people want to do, but can seem difficult at different times. So being that stress and academic stress is what our main topic is here tonight, and the big topic that I see in a lot of the students that I work with, we talk about an alternative view. So when we're treating anxiety and depression, we talk about changing our thoughts so that they're more logical and replacing them, and that takes practice. So one thing I encourage people to practice is when you're thinking stress, and your stress response is causing your breathing rate to increase. So you might be feeling stress, and to you, that common view is my fast breathing is a sign of anxiety. I worry about how stress is affecting my mental and physical health. You might also be thinking, oh, this doesn't feel great, like I'm not doing well, I'm going to pass out, all these thinkings. But if we know biology and we know that I should take a deep breath. So my faster breathing means more oxygen is getting to my brain so I can think more clearly. So slowing down, your body is reacting to that stress like it is made to do, but you are in control of that. So change that common view that you're breathing fast and you're anxious. Think about, I need to take deep breath. I'm in control of this. My body can handle this. And taking deep breaths are going to help me think more clearly, get more oxygen to my brain in a better way. So change that thinking. Know that stress, even panic attacks, they do end. They say that usually if a person's experiencing stress to the amount that you feel like you're having a panic attack, then usually most people, the peak is about 10 minutes, and then it gets much better after that. So if you know that even if you're feeling your worst and you are really anxious and worrying and maybe having trouble breathing, keeping that in your mind, like I need to take deep breaths and take a walk, like this is going to go away, I will get better, I can control this. And that does take practice, but know that you will get better. And if you feel this way and it doesn't improve, of course you need to get some support and talk about that so you can develop more coping skills. So I include this little picture, Charlie Brown. Worrying won't stop the bad stuff from happening, it just stops you from enjoying the good. So it's important to identify and work on skills to improve that. Because we all worry some, so how do we manage to balance that worry so you still enjoy the good? So mindfulness is a pretty hot topic these days. We can be mindful. We do all the things, and you'll see mindful eating. You'll see mindful being involved in a lot of different topics. And basically, what mindfulness means is paying attention to something in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. And this was wrote by Jon Kabat-Zinn. He's kind of one of the leaders in the mindfulness-based stress reduction that's been around many years. So basically, it's being able to clear your mind and be in one moment with intention and doing what you want in that moment. So that moment could be listening to a professor, it could be studying, but it could also be talking to your mom on the phone, or it could be playing soccer. It's being able to be in that moment so that you enjoy and make the best amount of your time, and you hear what your professor is saying, or you hear what your mom's saying on the phone, or you truly enjoy that soccer game, so that you are in each moment and you can enjoy them and work through them, and it doesn't create more stress. So mindfulness can be cultivated through a formal practice like meditation, but we bring mindful attention to our daily activities. So simply start practicing by noticing if you are feeling like you're not completely present and distracted. Just notice that, okay, I'm seeming a little distracted, but right now I want to be in class. And so redirect myself and listen and be in class. Or you can practice this in daily activities like taking a walk. Like if you're outside and you're taking a walk, the same walk you do every day, just take deep breaths and notice what the sky looks like and the tree looks like. I'd say you probably will see something you never saw before, even though you've done that walk 50 times. or driving, like paying attention to different things around you. Taking a shower is a great way to practice mindfulness because you're feeling water, there's steam, it's kind of all your senses are going on. It's a great way because, as I say, like most of the time when we're taking our morning shower, we're not really there, we're in our first meeting of the day. It happens to me all the time. So you have to say, like, I'm going to take it, not taking any more time of your day. You're there anyway. So enjoy it as a time that you can clear your mind and practice that. So with our great technology, there are some great apps that also I've had a lot of students really enjoy, called Headspace, Calm, and Insight Timer are a few. So these apps can help you. They have guided relaxations and mindful activities, and they can kind of have different experiences depending on if you want to work on different areas. So I would encourage you to check them out. If that's something you're interested in. Also, YouTube has tons of information. Like I tell people if they're struggling with falling asleep, that's a great time to practice mindfulness. Just find a 20-minute guided relaxation and close your eyes and listen to that as you're relaxing to go to sleep. So not only is it helping you fall asleep, but you're also practicing a skill that if that works and you can build on that, that's a skill you can use if you're stressed before a test or if you're struggling in a conversation. It's a skill that can help you realize, oh yeah, it feels great when I take that deep belly breath, like I was guided in that relaxation. So it's practicing a skill you can use often. So I encourage people to do that as well. Our technology is beneficial that way, and that we get lots of resources. So here's a little clip of you can be mindful or mindful. So our minds can look like this, busy with lots of things, or the same people in the same situation, taking a walk in the sunshine and the trees, and their thought bubbles are completely different things, right? This person is present, and this person is very busy with all kinds of things, YouTube and Twitter and mail and lots of stuff. So it just, higher education is inherently a challenging academic experience, which may make students vulnerable to depression, anxiety, and burnout. But subsequent to life, that life for practicing healthcare providers can also lend itself to a stressful lifestyle. So the important message is that now is the best time to manage academic stress in your courses, but also find that joy in your everyday life and plug in that exercise and manage your calendar, because these are skills that you're always going to need. And while the joy will come of having real patience and working and actually getting a paycheck, you'll still have days that work's not where you ideally want to be and you'd rather be on vacation. So these skills that we can build now are always going to benefit us. So some more ways that we talk about maintaining our positive mental health. I think a lot of these were included, but to review a little bit, resiliency, which means a lot of these things, getting professional help if you need it. Again, like just realizing that that stigma that we might have for ourselves or feel from other people, we need to really challenge that, because it might be much better if you take a step and get professional help, and then you also be able to empathize with others and encourage other people to do the same. Connect with others, having that positive support network. That's a mentor opportunity, staying positive, having things to look forward to, get physically active again, helping others, getting enough sleep, healthy eating behaviors, and good nutrition. So developing coping skills and having a good balance in managing time. Again, that managing time is pretty important when our lives have changed pretty dramatically of what that time and what our lives look like. And so sometimes it takes a little bit to get in practice of managing that. But it's important, especially with that organization. So I encourage a lot of students to set your day up to be successful. Like, know what materials you're going to need to go study at the library. Have your workout clothes ready, or wear them because I'm more comfortable anyway. And then you're ready to go to the gym, or have your lunch with you, so then you're able to eat when you need. So if you can set yourself up and be organized at the beginning of the day, those are all things that will make you feel good and will make you feel pretty accomplished because you're prepared for almost anything. Connect to friends, family members and mentors. Just constantly have that support and knowing that you have somebody to talk to. Be kind to yourself, less critical and demanding of your efforts. So there are some days where you're going to be the only person that's really going to reach out and be kind to yourself. So make sure that you do that. And when we talk about balancing wellness, this is kind of a little picture that we use here at ATSU. So this includes your physical health, when we talked about care for your body, nutrition and movement. Also includes your spiritual health, exploring and developing your sense of purpose and being. This could include religion for some people. It looks different for everyone. That emotional health, balancing your inner self through resilience and mindfulness. Social, nurturing personal connections, support systems. Even if that's a struggle for you, find what works for you. Professional, career enrichment, advancement of the profession. Environmental, respecting all cultures, protecting natural resources, the ways that it can feel good to give back to your community. And financial, balancing your basic needs and wants with available resources, because we wouldn't want that to be another stressor in our lives. So what I would encourage you to do right now is to write down 3 goals for your personal wellness. So taking a minute to do this. This can include exercise, sleep, meditation, healthy eating, talking with long distant loved ones, yoga, fitness class. Here it's the TCC, your fitness center, walks. So I'll give you a minute to do that. So hopefully everybody is coming up with some great ideas. So there's just power in writing down goals. Good old-fashioned pen and paper, right? Writing those things down makes you think about them, makes you identify some things that if they pop into your head first, that might mean that they're pretty important to you. So identify those goals. So everybody make 3 goals for your personal wellness and identify maybe a step to complete them as you continue. So some things to keep in mind. I love this picture of this dog. He was at a conference I was at, and he's a certified therapy dog. So there's a lot of those in some schools that come and visit students as a stress relief. We have one here at ATSU. Her name's Ellie. She's very pretty. So find somebody with a dog if you don't have one. That's a great stress relief. They're always so happy. They make us happy. Keep school in perspective. It's just one part of your life. Pursue hobbies and interests outside of your school. Like I said, if you look at your life as a pie, which thinking about pie is positive anyway. Who doesn't love pie? My grandpa liked 2 kinds of pie, hot and cold. So think about your life as a pie, and school is still just a piece of that pie. You have your family, and you have maybe your dog. You have your church family, or your sorority or fraternity, or whatever it is that's important to you. Remember, you're one step closer to your career every day. And on hard days, remember why you're there and what you're working towards. That brought you here to start with. Keep your connection strong with family and friends, and keep that balance going. So a couple of resources that I would encourage everyone to look at. So mental health first aid is a class that is taught to the general population. So it's like CPR for the mental health world. So it doesn't make you a counselor, a psychiatrist, or psychologist. A lot of people are relieved to hear about that, but it does help you be able to respond to a person that might be experiencing a mental health crisis. And so there is adult mental health first aid and also youth mental health first aid. So if you're interested in that, many community organizations offer that class for free. Just go to mentalhealthfirstaid.org and you can find a class. So if you feel like you would like to be a person that could support others and reach out and help in your community, then that would be a way to become a mental health first aider, is what you'll be called. And also asklistenrefer.org. So this is a online training that is made through the University of Missouri. Many universities have this. If you go to asklessrefer.org, your university might be, or college might be listed on there as a training. And if it's not, you can log in as a guest. And it's a quick, like 20-minute training. And this is specific to friends or helping others that might be feeling suicidal. So that also is just a little training I like to encourage everybody to have, because it takes 20 minutes and it's very helpful for everyone. So some mental health resources, I would encourage you to talk to your school counselor, college counseling center, local mental health resources in your area. If you struggle with finding any of these, reach out to somebody that is in the mentor role for you, and they can help you. Like I said, you don't have to be in crisis. If you're feeling really stressed and you feel like that stress isn't managed by some of the things that we talked about tonight, please find more help. You don't have to be in crisis to get mental health care. And I would encourage everybody, I do this in most of my talks. So the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which I think I have the number wrong here. It's actually 1-800-273-8255. I'll have to correct that. Put that in your phone. Like, you never know, as somebody that is around people all the time, but also a future healthcare professional. Keep this number in your phone. Obviously, with all of our smartphones these days, we can plug in the name, and it's going to take you right there. But it is 1-800-273-8255. And I would answer any questions at this time. Any questions our audience has from anything we talked about, or want clarity on anything?
What's the issue
The issue I see students about the most often is stress and anxiety. And so while not all of them have symptoms that would qualify for like an anxiety diagnosis, it definitely is anxiety. Actually, it's not, like I anticipated when I began working here, that anxiety would be related with a lot of students with not doing well academically. A lot of them are doing really well academically, but they're not managing their time and their stress in all the right ways. So while they're doing super well academically, they're not sleeping well, they're not exercising, they're not eating well, or connecting to others. So that's kind of where we start, balancing all these things. So anxiety is definitely the number one.
So if you're just now kind of realizing that you're having a lot of academic stress, where would be the best place to start to try and manage it?
So like you're just starting to identify it with yourself. I guess I would take a step back and kind of look at, is this related to a particular class? Is it related to academics? Am I balancing these other parts of my life? Kind of making a plan, look at it, but like an advisor would be a good person to talk to. A mentor, if you already have a mentor, another person at your school or university, or a counselor. Kind of having someone to verbalize everything that's kind of going on, because another person can give you a perspective to help you see, okay, well, this, maybe you should try tutoring, or maybe you're not sleeping enough. Maybe if you slept more, you would feel more like you could manage more things. So talk to somebody.
Real quick, for the people that got on just a little bit late, just tell them your background again.
Okay.
And how you help students to your background.
Okay. So I am a clinical social worker, so that you can call me a counselor or a therapist, either one, it's fine. So here at ATSU, we do mental health wellness counseling. So that involves counseling one-on-one with students, but also doing wellness events. We kind of also keep track of data as we identify what are our most common things that students are seeing us, and then we set up programs and let administration know like our biggest topics. Prior to working here, I worked in a community health center, and then with children all the way to adults prior to that, I worked at a juvenile justice center residential treatment facility. So that's kind of my background before here. Any other questions? Come on.
When talking about isolation and over involvement, like the polar opposites they are, is there one that you see that it's harder to fix than the other?
Oh, I mean, I think they equally can have their challenges. This depends on the person. Like you can have a complete person that's just has a really hard time letting go of some of those things they love to do, but they know they're taking up too much time. But then you have somebody that just struggles with connecting with others, and maybe didn't have the best start on their stay at the university. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they came here very uber focused on being just studying, and so they didn't set up those relationships to start with. So it's really hard to then step out there and try to find things. And so when I have those students that come to me, I just kind of look at all their interests and say, what could be a way to start? Like, how could you connect with other people? And it might be different than they think. So it just depends on the person. Is that all? Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me.